So our next reader is Maggie Tokuda-Hall. Again, correct. She is the author of the children's book, Also an Octopus, and is the host of the Drunk Safari podcast, which you all should get out your phones and subscribe to, and is a producer of Cliterary Salon. Her dog is objectively perfect. Maggie, take it away.
That's 100% true about my dog. I may have written that bio. I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm going to read a personal essay. Usually I read fiction. So, thank you all for your patience. I'm not a likely candidate for a baking hobby. I can't eat gluten. I'm married to a type 1 diabetic. In my culinary life, I've come to disregard recipes for being too bossy. So when I picked up baking, it didn't just feel sudden, it felt random. Stolen maybe, from a better woman, a woman with no dishes in her sink. First, it was chocolate cake. It was pretty, but too simple. So then came the macarons. Hundreds of them. Pale pastel treats topped with edible gold leaf or glitter. Beautiful and intricate. A worthy technical challenge to cut my teeth on. Too hard for most people, but not too hard for me. They're temperamental. That's what every recipe says. They crack, collapse, or prone to fail. Search results are dense with guides for troubleshooting your macaronage. I loved baking them immediately. Later, I'd realized the timing of this new obsession was no coincidence. We started fertility treatment in the summer of 2018. Tests made it clear my husband and I would not get pregnant naturally, ever. I wasn't surprised by the news. There were no obvious clues. It was just something I knew, the way that I knew I was in love or that a recipe calls for too much salt. What my mother calls women's intuition. So I didn't go into treatment with any misgivings. The fertility center we chose boasted special care for women of color, glowing Yelp reviews, and a doctor educated at both Harvard and Yale. It did not occur to me to enter this arrangement with my antenna up. And even now, if that feels naive, it doesn't feel foolish. We should be able to trust professionals with the care of our bodies. The first time I made macarons was shortly after a miscarriage. The macarons also failed. Sorry, I think that's really funny, but that's really hard. So sorry. I'd folded the batter too many times, added too much rose water, too much dye. They tasted like Satan's soapy butthole. That is also 100% true. They emerged from the oven shriveled and flat. No feet, as the ruffles on the bottom edge of the shells are called, a result gleaned from proper baking. I scraped the delicate pink remains into the trash. I was undaunted. Pregnancy is going to be hard for you, the doctor told me. A signal that I was being too precious, too fussy, a gentle rebuke. I mistook this for candor. In fact, it was the beginning of a process wrought with lies by omission, choices made on my behalf but not in my best interest. My chief concern that day, the day of our first consultation, was all the medication. It was a lot, but we plowed ahead anyway. Sure, this would be hard because, in fact, all pregnancies are hard. That was okay, I told myself. I can handle hard. Macarons are essentially a French meringue with almond flour and powdered sugar folded into them. Their reputation is that they're difficult, but I'd argue that they just require extra attention. Get to know your oven, learn if it runs hot. Fewer folds of your macaronage is better, but too few and they'll be misshapen. Don't bake on an especially humid day if you can help it. They're not hard so much as they're particular. I took a long and extreme list of medications leading into the surgery in which my eggs would be extracted. For the entire week leading into the procedure, I was in so much pain, like menstrual cramps, but more insistent, more acute, that my life was suddenly limited. No coffee, no sex, no alcohol, no exercise, no sudden movements. These were the rules. I was constantly nauseous, forever teetering on the edge of vomit. Is this normal? I'd ask. All bodies are different, the doctor would tell me. The subtext was, something is wrong with yours. Later, another doctor would name what actually happened to me, ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, an injury caused by overmedication. My ovaries had been pushed into such artificial productivity that they could not bear the weight of their own fruit. My surgery date was bumped up because I was growing so many eggs. I was deeply uncomfortable, but I could handle that. I could handle that for a baby. No one has been more pleased by my new hobby than my friends, and also people who came to our last Cliterary Salon. They reap the benefit of my obsession, eyes closed as they chew, as if they have to ward away all else in order to fully reckon with such indulgence. This is the chief delight in baking macarons, the sharing. Pass the plate around, bear witness to joy. All that hard work, the piping, the filling, the decorating, is worth it in an instant. I felt it as soon as the medications wore off. Pain so acute it pushed a moan from my throat. I'd been sitting on our couch when I realized I needed to get to bed. I needed to get to bed that fucking instant, or I would never get there. The pain would only get worse and I would be stuck and there would be no respite. My husband was out walking the dog, and so I was alone as I staggered down our short hallway, moaning and weeping, my hand dragging along the wall for support, until I could finally lay myself down so I could writhe in pain in bed instead of on the floor. We called the doctor. More meds, he said. I took them. When I was 17, I had a spinal tap. I didn't cry. When I was 16, a car accident left me in a neck brace for 3 weeks, and when I cried, it was from shock, not from pain. In my college softball career, when I took an unexpected line drive directly to my face, I didn't cry. I laughed, which I'm told is a common reaction to the concussion I had just sustained. That is true. So when I say the pain the next day was worse, when I say it was the only time I've wept solely from pain, when I say it was the worst pain of my life, I mean it. It was ovarian torsion, which is when the ovary twists, cutting off blood flow from the body. I was put on an IV drip of painkillers again, just to manage. Is this normal? My husband asked. Some women just handle pain differently, the nurse replied. I know. Sorry, that is an absolute quote. Anyway, that subtext again. It wasn't hard for everyone. It was just hard for me. The problem was not the treatment. The problem was that I was weak. I was bedridden for 2 full weeks following that. Resentment may feel general, but in my experience, it's as precise as any recipe. Macarons require order. They create pleasure. They're delicate and lovely, like a baby's toes. I can take the care with them that was not taken with my body. The months of attempts with that doctor left my body raw and aching. It felt as though I'd been evicted from it and that it had been trashed in my absence. It wasn't the first time. That feeling of being violated in absentia was not new. I was back again to years earlier in my bed the morning after being sexually assaulted. I'd woken up with the kind of pounding hangover one expects after drinking to the point of sick. What I didn't expect was to see him, a trusted friend, but not a chosen sexual partner. He told me we'd hooked up and that he had, quote, seen everything I had to offer. I went to the bathroom after he left and found drops of the thin red blood of injury on the tissue. My body had been trashed, and I hadn't even been there while it happened. I wish I could say I put a stop to the treatment I was receiving from that doctor, but it wasn't me who raised the flag, it was my husband. He demanded we get a second opinion, which we did. Doctors are reluctant to ever critique each other. At first, she assumed we remembered things incorrectly. But my husband is a thorough note-taker, and slowly, over the course of the phone call, it became clear just how unnecessary all of this had been. Because the fertility issues lie with my husband's body and not with mine, medicating me at all had been a choice made to ease scheduling for the doctor's office. It in fact did more to hinder our chances than improve them. But having tightly scheduled cycles allows for more patients. More patients mean more money. It was terrible. And worst of all, it didn't need to be. My trust had been betrayed again. All that suffering was for nothing. Medical fuckery around fertility is undoubtedly more common than we realize, just as sexual assault is more common. We trust doctors, just as we trust men, historically the authority figures of our lives. We trust that it's worth it. I couldn't make a baby, so I made macarons is too simple. I was raped, and so I made macarons is also reduction to the point of absurdity. But With no precious tiny shoes to buy, no birth announcements to send, no baby bump to show, I post endless pictures of these confections, delicate and precise. That I would be drawn to macarons and baking with all its ladylike connotations makes a kind of sense. My body cannot seem to achieve its sole feminine purpose, but I can master this specifically femme art. It's a gentle hobby, interwoven with a dedication to aesthetic, to details that lend beauty. It is done with the express purpose of bringing others happiness, a gesture devoid of self, the ultimate maternal posture. Maybe I fancied myself the giving tree to a child who was never born. The best pain is the pain that creates something beautiful, pearls and cherry blossoms, childbirth. So what is there to do in the wake of pain that makes nothing? There was no result from my treatment, no baby with delicate toes and slowly blinking eyes. There is no bright side to rape. There is only me and a recipe that can be endlessly iterated. Me and the beauty I can control. The beauty I make for myself. Thanks. I'm bad at capitalism, but my publisher is not, so children's book is not available for sale here, but it is in the independent bookstore of your choosing or on Amazon.com. You can also subscribe to my podcast, which is much more cheerful than the thing I just read you. It's called Drunk Safari. It's on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. Thanks.